Polish industrial production fell to 0.3%. Today I'm joined on the line by ING's Grzegorz Ogonek to share with us your views on recent data and give us your outlook for next year.
On one hand, we see a decent amount of positive surprises. The biggest being the third quarter GDP release, surprising not only by the size of growth, by by how shallow the slowdown is, which we all feared back in first and second quarter this year, but also by the structure of growth. So you would say this got more healthy in third quarter when the inventory changes component lost or stopped being the main support of growth. Now it's more about investments and private consumption. This was quite surprising. We thought that the geopolitics, by the uncertainty delivered by what happens to Eurozone, is going to affect enterprises and household sentiments and their approach to large expenses. But the third quarter GDP numbers actually tell a different story. That it's more like business as usual situation, and we have this continued situation of opening up to expenditures, to expansion of business. However, on the other hand, we are stuck in deflation, although some don't want to call it deflation just yet, just a bunch of negative CPI readings. So this is a risk factor. For now, the risk of entering a spiral of this vicious spiral caused by deflation and losing a decade like Japan seems quite limited. But this is certainly going to be a factor monitored throughout next month.
Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko begins a 2-day state visit to Poland today. Now, are you more worried about Poland's geopolitical situation right now with Russia and Ukraine, or more about a Eurozone slowdown in 2015?
Well, as for the Eurozone, we're pretty much getting used to looking into a mist when thinking about Eurozone's future. So, and this year's, the next year's not really different. I mean, the forecast, and we feel that it's going to be better, that the forecast should point to some growth, well, half-hearted growth, if you think in terms of the previous business cycles for the Eurozone, but still some improvements in GDP and other activity measures. As for the Russia-Ukraine crisis, well, with such tremendous ruble volatility and with a track record of big surprises of how the crisis developed over this year, it's natural to think in terms of some ugly scenarios. This could be seen as let's say, a risk scenario with geopolitics in the background. But again, this is not the base case. I mean, we do see the Russia-Ukraine crisis affecting the situation in Poland mostly through the economic channel. That is, by putting more and more pressure on food prices and by stealing some of the GDP growth by lower turnover with these Eastern partners.
Tens of thousands of people gathered in Warsaw on Saturday as the leader of Poland's largest opposition party claimed that the results of last month's municipal elections had actually been rigged. Now, do you think this is just a once-off, or will we see more political volatility next year?
The march that happened in Warsaw, we don't consider it a new permanent feature of the Polish political scene. This is quite an issue. It's still in the local media, but it doesn't really shake the political scene all that much. Next year's supposed to be a year of political volatility, just because we have presidential and general elections happening, but this might simply end in broadening of the current coalition and letting also the leftist party enter the government. So that's one of the solutions.
Thank you very much for your time today. A pleasure speaking to you. Well, viewers, do stay tuned. Do not go anywhere, as we have plenty more heading your way. Bye for now.